Welcome back to another session of In the Know, which is our way of trying to communicate with all of our employees in the school district about what's going on over the past couple weeks. We are trying to time these in line with our board meetings that we have. We had a work session this past Monday, so I wanted to be able to talk about a few things that came up at the board meeting, so everybody is aware of those. Originally, we thought we'd do this once a month with the regular board meeting, but it is very apparent that after the work session, there are items too that you will want to know about, and it gives me a chance just to talk with you a little bit more, at least every 2 weeks instead of every 4 weeks. So we'll be continuing to do this as we move forward. So a couple of things to talk about. The e-learning day. That's one of the things that has come up since the last time that we were together. And so again, November 2nd is an e-learning day for Darlington County School District. Of course, our students will not be in any of our buildings, so there will be no students that are in buildings. The work schedules for everybody vary depending on what category that you're in. But as far as people that will be in the actual buildings themselves, it is anybody that is a 210-day employee or higher. So again, if you are a 210-day employee or higher, you will be in your building for that particular day, but with an asterisk there, you are able to work a half day that day. So your principal or your department supervisor is the person that you need to talk to about what that looks like. But again, anybody 210 days or more will be in your buildings for November 2nd, but you're able to work half days with your peers, work that out with your principal or your supervisor. Again, our teachers will be at home, our bus drivers will be at home, our aides will be at home. Anybody that is less than 210 days will be at home. And everybody will be paid for that day. Again, that is a day that we are choosing to have everybody at home. Obviously, it is election day, and at least 7 of our buildings are being utilized as voting sites. Again, I wanted to make sure that none of our children were in the buildings for that particular situation, given the current political climate that we're in. And just thought it would be a good idea. Plus, it's a good way for everybody just to take a deep breath as we are continuing to come out of some pretty challenging months as we started this school year. So again, e-learning day on November 2nd. If you have any questions at all, please check in with your principal or your supervisor on that. The next thing I'd like to talk about is our board meeting items. Again, we had a work session this past Monday. Work sessions are primarily times where we get a chance to have information that we give to the board and also receive information back from the board. There's no voting items that take place for work sessions. The best way to describe it is it's preparing us actually for the next board meeting where we do vote. So it helps the board a lot, and it helps me a lot to be able to have discussions up front about things that we're considering. And so by the time we get to our board meeting and we vote on them, there's usually less discussion because we've already had a good bit of discussion in the work sessions with that. So one of the big items that we talked about at the work session was the calendar survey and the calendar information. Again, you all were sent surveys at least a week or so ago about 3 potential possibilities with calendars. We had the traditional calendar, which starts the 3rd week of August. We had a modified calendar, which students start the 1st week of August, and then we had a year-round calendar as well, where students actually started in the middle of July. And so those were the 3 options that we had out there. By overwhelming choice, the survey, the top vote getter in the surveys was for the modified calendar that we had. And so again, we had over 2,300 people that submitted the survey responses. We had a great response from our employees. We had students that responded a good bit. and of course our parents and stakeholders too. So of note, I would say our students were pretty split between the year-round calendar and the modified calendar. So I think that was surprising to all of us, but the majority, overwhelming majority of our employees and our parents preferred the modified calendar. So the next steps with that is that we will take that to the board at our next regular board meeting, the 8th of November, and they will vote on it, and that will be put in place. Another good thing about the calendars that we're able to move forward with is that this will be for the next 2 years. So we won't be having this discussion again, and we won't be changing times or changing dates, again this time next year. We are putting together calendars that we can depend on and count on for the next 2 years as we move forward. So again, that information will be coming out after the board meeting, but the sample that you saw, the draft calendar for the modified, is the calendar that we are recommending to the board for approval. And that we anticipate the board approving. So a couple notes about that calendar. There are extra weeks that students will be out of school on that particular calendar. And obviously certain personnel will be out of schools as well. So there is a week break for students in the month of October. And then there's also another week break for students in the month of February. And that is in addition to our normal Thanksgiving break, Christmas holiday break, and spring break that we have. So there's a great opportunity for time off for our students and families, as well as employees, on those extra weeks that we have. Again, I would urge you and your families, as you are looking for opportunities to get away, to utilize that extra time so we can maintain our 180-day teaching schedules with our students. And also, again, just know that we will be finished before Memorial Day with these new calendars. So that's a first since I've been in the school district. I'm excited for you and for all of us to be able to do that as well. So there's still a significant summer break in there as we finish before Memorial Day. Again, teachers and 190-day personnel come back the last week of July. Students start the first week of August, and then we move forward. So that was one of the big events that we discussed at the work session. Another item we discussed at the work session was our strategic planning process, and I'm really excited to get moving forward with this. Traditionally, the strategic plan is updated once every 5 years. It usually runs in conjunction with our advanced ed accreditation process as well. But we're getting an early start on this, and so I'm excited about that. And the strategic planning process from the district level, what that entails is putting together committees that will be discussing various topics that we're looking at in the district and what our goals are, what our vision is, and how all of our stakeholders have input in that process. So something that I don't think has been done in a while in our district, and so I'm encouraged to get started on that. We plan on having 3 meetings with these committees throughout the year, starting at the end of November, another one in February, and another meeting in March. And those committees will consist of teachers, classified personnel, parents, stakeholders, district office personnel, and board members. So all of those folks will be sitting at a table together discussing the various areas that we're looking at for the future and for the next 5 years. And how we, as the Darlington County School District, how we envision who we want to be. And so, for example, one of those topics, one of the areas that I'll be leading, is vision and the mission statement for the district. And so, what is our current mission statement? And does that represent who we are today? The reason that you want to keep updating the strategic plan is because things change. and the items that we implement in the district change, and the focus in our schools in the district change. So this is a time for us to really take a look at who we are and who we want to be. And so, for example, as I mentioned, the mission statement. Who are we, and why are we that? That's a big question. You have to answer that before you can start looking at all the other areas and answers to who we want to be for the next 5 years. So again, I'm encouraged about this process. Other areas that we'll have committees for, of course, is student achievement and curriculum and instruction. Technology is another area. Financial management and facilities is another area. And of course, human capital, hiring the best teachers, hiring the best employees that we can hire, administrators, all areas across the district, bus drivers, food service, you name it. How do we make sure to ensure that we are hiring the best folks that we can, and more importantly, that we're keeping them as well? So that's another area. So again, some of you will be getting a request to come join us in these particular committees. We will put that information out to our principals and our department heads as far as supplying us some names for the different buildings, so we can put these committees together and have our first meeting in November, at the end of November. This also leads right into the advanced ed process. Not this school year, but next school year we'll actually be going through advanced ed again. And so we will be completely prepared for that process by working on our strategic plan this year. And then also your school renewal plan. Every school has a school renewal plan, and that goes in conjunction again with the district strategic plan. So the district strategic plan and the goals and the objectives of the district should certainly be in line with what our schools are doing as well. But each school will have a different take, so to speak, on how they will be implementing those goals and objectives. So we look forward to seeing that process. Another item that we talked about at the work session is we have been working a lot over the past year on trying to get our athletic programs consistent from a standpoint of some of the basic needs that they have. So for example, helmet reconditioning, football helmet reconditioning. That is something that every middle school and every high school has kind of been on their own with and had to fend for themselves with. And so those are some things that we've looked at from the district perspective, and we feel like that's a basic need that the district should be taking care of for our students, and especially our student athletes. And so one of those items, of course, is helmet reconditioning, and so the district has a plan in place where we will be actually providing that for all of our middle and high schools instead of having them have to fend for themselves with that. Another area, for example, is South Carolina High School League fees. Those are a non-negotiable. Every high school and middle school has to pay those fees in order to participate in high school sports. We feel that that should be taken care of at the district level. So again, we're being able to help with that. We're excited and encouraged about that. Another item, for example, is our trainers that we have at all of our athletic events. Again, different schools have been paying different amounts, along with our health care providers that pay a portion of that. We feel like that is a basic need that the district should be taking care of for all of our student athletes as they participate in sports. We will be taking care of that as well. And also we will be adding trainers for our middle schools as well. We certainly see the need for those trainers to be available in the case of any type of injury that our student athletes may experience at the middle school level. So stay tuned. We don't have that for this current year, We weren't able to put it in place for this current year due to some of the COVID constraints, but we will be doing that for next year at the middle school level. So that's another area that we'll be adding to. And another area, not just athletics, but another area that we talked about, for example, is band uniforms. And so we realize the need that our band programs need to be able to refresh their uniforms on a given cycle. That could be 4, 5, or 6 years that they are refreshing their uniforms. And I know in the past that burden has fallen back on the band programs and on our band students as well from a fundraising standpoint. And the board and myself all agree that should be something that the district should take care of. That is a need, and we feel like that need should be taken care of at the district level. So that's something else that all of our band programs will be getting more information about in the near future. Other things that we discussed are capital projects that we're currently working on. For example, we are just finishing up a new track that's been put in at Darlington High School because that was in need of serious repair. So that project's finalizing over the next week or so. Also, we're looking at installing lights for several of our facilities. So, for example, Hartsville High School has had a very specific need for baseball lights and softball lights. So that's in the works. Those bids are in the works to be taken care of. And all of these projects, by the way, have come from those schools' athletic directors having discussions with their coaches and their principals and providing those lists to the school district. So if you're wondering how these items wind up on the list for capital projects, there is a chain of command, so to speak, on how that works. Our principals work with our athletic directors who work with our coaches to put together those plans. So again, we're encouraged to be moving forward. I think everybody has heard the benefit of having the PA systems be refurbished in all of our football stadiums. We're also working on softball and baseball stadiums in time for the spring seasons that are coming up. So we are refurbishing those systems. And again, just glad that we're able to take care of a lot of things that we believe the district should be taking care of at our level versus putting that burden on the schools. Another topic that we talked about at the work session, excited about this as well, is a new Esports program, a Darlington County School District Esports program. Our technology department, Mr. Brown, has been spearheading this effort along with several other folks in the district. They have done a lot of research. They've visited other programs around us that have been implementing an esports program over the past couple years. And we are putting all that information together. We spoke with the board about our initial findings at the work session, and we are putting together a budget. So stay tuned for that. Again, I am all about opportunities for our students to be successful, and an esports team will be another opportunity for a segment of our students to be successful. We're excited about that. We'll be working on a location and equipment. Of course, you've got to have a coach for that. And this will be a district-wide esports team, not an individual team for each high school, but a district-wide esports team. We also spoke briefly at the work session about old facilities disposal. Again, as many of you all know, we built 3 new elementary schools and combined some buildings. And one of those buildings, J.L. Kane, was demolished in order to build the new building. So that one went away. But we still have a couple other buildings that are in the district, specifically Brunson Dargan in West Hartsville and Lamar Elementary. And so the board, we had some initial discussions about how that will be handled. And the plan is that Brunson Dargan, the old Brunson Dargan School and facility, will be put on the market for sale to see if we can get somebody to purchase that property, and of course that money will go back into capital funds for the district. And again, we want to make sure that we are good neighbors in our community, and one of those ways is putting that property on the market to see how we can get the best value for the district out of that. Another one of those buildings is Lamar Elementary School, and of course Lamar Elementary is sitting on the same property that Lamar High School is on. And obviously we are not interested in selling that property to an outside entity because it currently sits on the high school property as well. So Lamar Elementary will actually be getting demolished. We are working on those bids as we speak, and that project should be moving forward sometime in the very near future. So again, instead of it being an eyesore and the building becoming dilapidated on our school property, we will actually demo that building, and so it will be a much better landscaped area. And also that property is available to us for future use as well, so we're excited about that. And of course the other property is West Hartsville Elementary School. The old West Hartsville Elementary currently houses our Darlington County Virtual Academy. And so that building is being utilized, and we plan to continue that program in that particular facility. So we will continue to work with our Ms. Jefferson, our principal in that building, and her teachers on making that facility as good as possible for our Virtual Academy students and employees. So again, lots of exciting things. I saved towards the end to talk about COVID because COVID has not been front and center as much as it has been over the past couple months. That doesn't mean that COVID has gone away, and we need to continue to be cautious and vigilant, but certainly the COVID numbers have been dropping significantly across the state, across our county, and more importantly in our school district. And so we are continuing to see the numbers decline. For example, ending last week, the 22nd of October, we had a total of 12 students that were positive across the entire school district. Okay, so for the week ending 10/22, we had 12 student positives, and we had 42 quarantines across the school district. As far as employees, we actually had 2 employees that were positive for the week ending 10/22, and 2 employees that were quarantined. So again, just to give some perspective to that, our highest point was the 3rd week of August, the week ending 8/27. We had approximately 127 students that were positive, and 630 students that were quarantined. And again, put that in perspective to this past week, which was 12 positive and 42 quarantined. Again, with employees, at that high point, the 3rd week of August, we had 21 of our employees positive and 31 that were quarantined. We had 2 positive this past week and 2 quarantined. So those numbers are coming down significantly. Again, we continue to urge everybody to wear masks. We continue to urge everybody that is able to be vaccinated to get vaccinated. Social distance as much as possible, to the extent possible. But we're very encouraged about the way that we are working out of the current surge that we have been in the midst of. And again, I thank all of you, all of our employees, on how you have helped us maintain our schools being open, and our students being provided transportation, being provided meals, and being able to be taught on a regular basis in our buildings. Again, not having to shut down a school or shutting down the district. So we hope to see those numbers continue to dwindle, and hopefully, again, as the numbers continue to come down, that we can relax more of our current COVID items that we have in place. So stay tuned for that. So that is bringing us close to a wrap here. But I do want to mention a couple other things. I'm going to try to give some shout out to some folks during these times that we're together a couple times a month. So I'm going to give a shout out to the technology department for the Darlington County School District. What a great job all of the folks have been doing. Starting at the top with Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown has been with us a little less than a year. But certainly the way he has helped manage and organize the department, but more importantly, give that department the ability to serve you in your schools and serve you in your departments and offices. All of our folks, our techs, our instructional technology people, devices have been rolling out. Of course, we do have a back order situation. I'm sure you all have heard about the supply chain issues that are out there. But for example, teacher devices, they are certainly on order. And we do expect to see them. They just may be on a boat right now out in the water somewhere. But you'll see those getting replenished. But we've also been replenishing a lot of the office computers and upgrading those that are old. And of course, our student devices and iPads and MacBooks we have been refreshing as well. So again, shout out to the technology department and all of their hard work and efforts in helping us help our students. Whether that be through instructional technology and programs and professional development options, or whether it be from the techs that are helping fix the broken devices or actually make the ones that aren't working work at the school level. So please, if you would, give them a shout out as well. And let them know how much you appreciate the job that they're doing. And the last thing I want to mention is I think is really important that you have an outlet if you have something that you think would help our school district. And so I encourage you as an employee that if you have an idea that you think would help our school district, then please don't hesitate to call me or send it via an email. I know a lot of times people are hesitant to speak out. But you know, one of the things that we're really starting to focus on is an Orange Frog initiative, which is talking about all the positive things that are going on and focusing on the positive versus what's not there. We're focused on what is there and what is good, but also those outliers. We want to recognize and acknowledge the outliers, and the outliers are those folks that are willing to step up and say, hey, I have an idea, I have a thought about what I think would help a lot of people in our district feel better about what they're doing. I encourage you to email me or call me, and I will absolutely respond back because we're all after the same thing, which is we want the Darlington County School District to be the absolute best place to work, but also the best place for students to be enrolled in school and be successful at. So as part of that initiative, again, I just encourage you, don't hesitate. If you've been sitting back with an idea that you think would help, please forward that on to me. And then also mentioning the Orange Frog, I know we gave out a lot of Orange Frogs at our back to school meeting when we were back in August together. And we were streaming that live. And I know a lot of y'all were asking about, well, what exactly is this Orange Frog about? We're actually going to be having more information coming out in December and January about that and the initiatives that go along with it. Primarily, again, focusing on what the positives are in our district and making sure that we shout that out to all of our employees, all of our parents, all of our stakeholders about the great things that are going on that we should be proud of, and then also helping our community. You know how big I believe community is. Community is my number one pillar. And so what are those random acts of kindness that we can all get around and rally around to be out in our communities and let them know about. So stay tuned for that. I'm super excited. I know it just happens to be orange. It's not because I'm such a big Clemson fan. It just happens to be that the frog happens to be orange. So whether Clemson's winning or losing, I'm excited about the Orange Frog Initiative that we're moving forward. I actually joked with somebody and told them if the frog was garnet, I would be just as excited about it. So, but that wraps us up for this session of In the Know. Again, thank you for all that you do. Please know how much we appreciate you and all of your efforts. And just know from my perspective, look, let's focus on the culture. Let's focus on what's going right in our district. Let's focus on the basic needs of our children and making them comfortable in their setting, and focus on the basic needs of our peers around us. You know, I firmly believe that if we take care of each other and we get the basics down as far as safety and security and the needs that make us be in a spot where we can either learn or help somebody learn, everything else will flow after that. So all the lofty goals we have, they really don't take place unless we get the culture right and unless we get the basic needs of our kids and our employees met as well. So again, just know that I support you. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful to be in the Darlington County School District and leading Darlington County School District and in the way that we are able to. So again, join me. Let's do this arm in arm. Hug on your family members. Tell them how much you care and love them. And just, again, appreciate those things around you as well. So I'll see you next time.